It's witchcraft.
Hey, it's 4:20 a.m. Hi, and welcome to episode 50 of the Stoned Witches Hour. On this podcast, two best friends get together to smoke copious amounts of cannabis while telling each other true crime and paranormal tales from across the USA.
We do get witchy, though, too.
Oh, that's right. We definitely get witchy, weedy, and weird on this podcast. And today, representing all things ghosty and cannabis with the most THC, I'm Layla.
I'm high. Like, I don't even know. I'm just high. I'm Chelle. I'm high. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Smoke with us. Listen to some stories, because we're fucked up today.
We're fucked up. I am still, I think, hungover from New Year's Eve. Not drunk hungover, weed hungover. I smoked a lot of weed on New Year's Eve.
I'll admit, normally I'm just a weed smoker predominantly, but I did have a few shots of the old Jack Daniels. Jack's my friend. We go way back.
Nice.
And we had a little reunion on New Year's, a little one.
Brief reunion. Nice.
It wasn't like a blackout reunion.
I also danced with Jack Hare on New Year's Eve, so that was nice.
You and your Jack Hare.
Love it.
Love that shit.
Even the knockoffs are good. I haven't had what I would call an original or genuine Jack, but I've had some damn good Jack. So I also had fun with Jack on New Year's.
Well, New Year's Day was very good. When you smoke too much weed the night before and you wake up and you still feel high?
Oh, yeah.
That was New Year's Day.
That's when I reach for a hippie speedball and start my day in style, which is basically just big bong and copious amounts of caffeine. Yeah.
Right.
So I just get going with that for sure.
But I've had trauma in my life.
Oh, no, Chelle. What kind of trauma? Is this the trauma like you were telling us before? You got some peanut butter in your chocolate and made it better? You know, your keef and your good weed trauma?
No, this is a bad trauma.
No.
So listen to this bullshit that happened to me this morning.
All right. What happened, Chelle?
So I'm sleeping, okay? Like any normal person is doing on a day off at 4:30 in the morning, okay?
Absolutely.
And I was up late because I've gotten sucked into this new podcast. So I'm up laying in bed listening to this thing until like 1 o'clock in the morning. So 4:30 in the morning, my sweet darling love has to get up and go to work because he doesn't have today off, although I do. So he's tiptoeing around, and I always tell him, when you leave in the morning, shut the bedroom door. Now, we have 2 cats. We love these cats. My babies.
They're adorable. I'm taking that ginger one home with me.
Yeah, you're going to take that ginger one home with you today after I finish the story.
Oh, no. What happened?
So he locks the ginger one in the bedroom. The black and white one is out in the other part of the house, shut out of the bedroom. So she's good. We'll let her be okay. She's not the devil cat today.
She's a sweet angel today.
Sweet angel today. The other one, he locks him in the bedroom. So he leaves at 4:30. You know what that little bastard cat did at 4:45?
Oh, no, what?
Okay, so in my bedroom, I have my TV is on. It's like in like this armoire kind of thing. And there's an area in front of the TV, and I keep my tray of weed there. Okay. So on this tray of weed, what I had done, I had, you know how when you have a tray and you make a mess, you just kind of shove it all into the corner for later use?
Sure.
So I had a corner of that. And then I had a grinder that was not closed that had grinded up, probably pushing about half of an eighth, but the top is off of it. My bad to begin with. 4:45, he jumps up on that little spot between the TV and where that is, and he knocks that goddamn tray on the ground.
No,
on purpose.
No.
Oh, no. I had a full glass of tea in the same spot. He weaved around the tea because he knew not to knock the tea over and purposefully pushed, like the tray wasn't on the edge. He had to push it. He pushed it.
It was deliberate.
Is evil.
That was evil.
And when the grinder hit the ground, like, you know how there's the little mesh thing where the keef falls into the bottom?
Yeah.
A whole bunch of keef smashed out onto the floor too. So not only did I lose a half an eighth of like grounded weed, I also lost like most of the keef in the bottom of the fucking grinder.
I'm crying. There's literal tears coming out of my eyes. Oh my goodness.
So I jump out of bed because of course, crash, boom, bang, you know. So I jump up And that cat looks at me and he starts running everywhere in the room. He knows.
There's no
He
escape.
knows. I open that door. I'm like, you get the fuck out of here. And I slam the door.
No.
So then I'm like, and at 4:30 in the morning on the East Coast this time of year, it's dark. So I'm like, I'm just going to tiptoe back into bed and I'm going to go back to sleep and I'm not going to stress. And I'm going to deal with this when I wake up. Sure as shit. Who could go to sleep knowing all their weeds on the floor?
No sleep. Are we going to have to take the grinder away from you, Chelle? This is the second grinder incident in just a couple weeks. I'm thinking, is this a final destination kind of situation? Like
where my cat's not going to live through the day?
Yeah, but no, I'm thinking about your weed, man. Like just a week or so ago, you had that grinder incident where the bottom came off. That could have been bad. It should have been bad for anyone else. It would have been bad.
But it worked out.
It worked out great for you.
This did not work out. I'm picking up my weed in a dustpan, Laylla.
Oh, that's so sad. I think this was final destination. I think that first time your weed was supposed to die and it didn't. And so something bad had to happen to make up for it.
I would have rather lost the keef in the first accident than a half of an eighth in this accident.
Oh, ouch.
So, and of course, I haven't swept my floor in like 4 days. So there's dust, there's dirt, there's actually a crunched up leaf in there. So it's
not smokable.
I'm texting my boyfriend. I'm like, this fucking cat. Rah, rah, rah. He's like, oh, you can't just pick it up and smoke it?
No, it's shaking ground up weed. Ew.
In my 20s, I would have picked it up and smoked it. I am not smoking dust and dirt anymore. I'm crying. Honestly, today. I'm crying.
I'm crying with you. I'm crying with you. That is a sad, sad moment. This is what I thought was going to happen last time when you said it. I was so happy when you said that it didn't. It worked out great. And now,
here we are.
My heart breaks for you. It's a heartbreaking moment for sure.
Put it this way. That cat hasn't been near me in a good 6 hours. If I even walk in the same room, he gets up and goes away. Like he knows he pissed me off.
I think one of his 9 lives is completely gone. He's used one up.
I am not letting him in my bedroom for a while.
Obviously does not have any weed etiquette at all. That cat. No. Oh, terrible.
And he knows what weed is. He smells it. And he was just like, how can I piss her off at 4:45 a.m.?
Yep, he was just bored, wanted your attention, knew exactly how to get it. Mama's stash.
There's my morning story for you.
Ouch, that's a tough one on this brand new year. Oh my goodness. That's a harsh story, Chelle. Hard one.
It's been a painful new year so far.
And at the witching hour, no less.
Fucking cat.
You should have, Chelle, that's the universe telling you should have gotten up at 4:20 with your sweet love and smoked
and gone back to sleep.
That's right.
Yeah, that was my bad.
That's not the cat's fault. Obviously not my adorable ginger baby's fault at all.
I should have just been up smoking weed instead of letting my cat destroy the weed.
Right. See, I'm glad you know where the blame really lies in this situation.
Because that was trauma.
That was some shitty trauma, Chelle. I'm so sorry that happened to you. As our listeners know, I feel your pain.
You've had the same trauma.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's awful. So did you literally look at it in the dustpan for like a full minute before you were like, no, I'm throwing it away?
No, what I did, I did the opposite. I left it. I swept it up in a pile on the floor and I left it there for like 20 minutes. And I was like,
every time you walk by, maybe no.
20-year-old me would have been on my knees.
Yeah.
And then after about 20 minutes, then I was like, God damn motherfucker. And I swept it in the dustpan and I was just done. Put it right in the garbage.
I've heard that the more you swear, the less it hurts. That's just science.
I feel like that was maybe the case a little bit. I feel like the more I talk about it, the more it hurts.
Oh, I knew though that you had to at least left it for a little bit because there's no way a fucking stoner can easily throw that away. You got to think about it a few times before.
I didn't even put it in the dustpan for 20 minutes. So.
That's my Chelle.
But it was Endgame. It was good. I'm still smoking that Endgame. They've been having big sales on that. I feel like they overgrew it. And so now they're trying to like get rid of like pounds and pounds because they have it really cheap and they keep having it consistently week after week after week. And it's good. So here we are again, Endgame.
Well, there you go. Well, I'm smoking. I'm not even sure what I've got. I've got some purple shit. I've got some really, really dense purple shit. I've got some really, really pale. I think it's White Widow. I'm not positive.
Ooh. Oh my God. That's one of my top five.
Yeah, but like we were all kind of smoking. I was at a little party, with some other smokers, some other growers, and we all kind of passing stuff around. So I ended up with a little bit of everybody's shit, and I
You
don't
got
know
a
what it is.
salad.
I got a good salad going on over here. It's great. But my garden's really on the roll, so I'm very much smoking a lot of my own weed right now. And as you know, I'm kind of traveling. My home base is still California, but I'm in New York, I'm in Canada, I'm in Colorado. I'm all over the country this year.
You
So
sent me pictures. You text me pictures the other day and you're like, oh, I saw this in Canada. I'm like, what the hell are you doing in fucking Canada?
well,
Like, how did you even get to Canada? Like, why are you in Canada? You're like, oh, I'm just there. I'm like, oh,
I have been a nomad as long as you have known me. I'm a little bit
I
of a
have always
vagabond.
affectionately called you a gypsy.
That's true, but you can't use that word anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's
It's
right. I
as a
forgot.
slur. That's right. It used to be my nickname, but it's a slur, so we don't do that. So nomad,
Okay.
I'm kind of a
Okay.
nomad. But apparently in Canada, what I was doing was sending you pictures of Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs.
Which blows my mind because I'm like, wait, Pennsylvania Dutch, she's in Canada. Pennsylvania, Canada, Pennsylvania, Canada. And I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna roll with it.
I saw it too, and we stopped. We literally stopped, reversed, and took pictures twice. And then I just kept seeing them. And I'm like, what the heck? We are so far away from Pennsylvania. It's not even funny. But they were everywhere. I stopped sending you them because I was just like, she's going to be so sick of this.
Well, I know, I actually did have like a totally reasonable conclusion to that, which is obvious. I have family and ancestral baggage to Pennsylvania Dutch folk, but I did not grow up and live in Pennsylvania. So in New York, we always had the Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs in our kitchen.
They're everywhere. They had them all over in their homes and on their blankets and
So
towels.
we had them in the kitchen in upstate New York. So, it could just be as simple as they have ancestral ties, or maybe they grew up in that area and moved to Canada. People bring their traditions and their shit with them no matter where they go. And nowadays, people aren't as stuck in one location as, say, 100 years ago.
It's
100
very
years
true.
ago, 200 years ago, where you were born is where you died. That isn't the case nowadays. People grow wings and fly away, man, but they take their
Hell,
traditions with them.
I think I am a very good
Example of that?
That's yes, because I am very much not where I grew up and have not been for quite a while. I move a lot, more than your average person.
But like I still have my collection of Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs, and I have brought them with me to Massachusetts. So they just travel with people. Just people aren't as stuck in one location as maybe 100 or more years ago.
Yeah, and one of the coolest things I realized about hex signs, which I didn't know before, I mean, I thought that they were very specific. I thought that each symbol, I mean, and they do, each symbol has different meanings, but like one of the hex signs I sent to you looked like it was a hummingbird, just a blue hummingbird, like on
Yes, yep.
a geometric yellow background. And I'm like, I even asked you, I'm like, is this a hex sign or is this just decorative? And you said, no, that's definitely 100% a hex sign. The reason I asked is because I've never heard of a hummingbird in a hex sign. So I thought,
Usually they're like doves or something.
right, but what I realized after kind of researching this is that while there are some symbols that are kind of universal, like you said, doves for peace or happy
Hearts and all that.
family,
Yeah.
there's different colors and symbols that do mean things. You can make your own hex sign. There's no
Exactly.
rules or anything about it.
It's just like a spell or a sigil. It's what you want it to be.
Exactly. And people will use colors, like they'll find regional colors, like what they'll use specific colors in certain regions, or certain symbols will be, kind of popular in a town or an area, but you can make your own fucking hex sign for your family. And I love that. I just
Slap that shit right up on your barn, man.
right? I'm like, I can use whatever colors and symbols and things that mean something to me to
Right.
make myself a beautiful geometric. Basically, the biggest thing is they're geometric and they're very uniform. They're very symmetrical and colorful and bright and
Bright
have
colors.
bright colors and in a circle, and then there you go, make your own hex sign. And I love that. I love that kind of earthy, witchy, do what you want within confines of rules. There's rules, but within those rules, do what you will to make the magic.
And there are a set of traditional hex signs, like you said, I can't remember how many there are off the top
Oh, a
of my head,
lot.
but there is a traditional standard set. But as with anything, alter it to suit your need. What's your spell? What's your intention? What are you trying to bring? If you're a farmer, maybe you want your hex sign to have corn on it
Right.
with cows with dripping nipples. I don't know.
Nobody wants that, Chelle. Nobody wants that.
That's milk. Milk.
Well,
Milk.
I know.
Why am I the type of person that when I try to think of a sigil for milk, I come up with cows with dripping nipples?
Right? I don't know.
I have like the most fucked up mindset.
That just means that when we come up with a sigil for my greenhouse, my wheat greenhouse, Chelle, you and I will have to do it together. No nipples and no dripping milk. But other than that, free reign. Free reign, Chelle.
You're no fun, man.
I know.
And this right here is why people love us.
That's right. And this is why we probably should not be allowed to smoke things with over 30% THC.
I'm just glad I'm not smoking anything that's touched my floor today.
As are we all.
Notice I can't stop thinking about it. I keep going back.
I know. I'm so sad about it. My heart hurts. I still have dried tears right here. You see it on my cheeks from it.
I do. I see that little tear crust.
I know.
Right
It was
there.
so sad. It's terrible. But so to make you maybe more sad, or at least to take your mind off of it, I'm going to tell you a scary story.
Ooh, what you got? What you got? What you got?
I've got a ghost story for you, Chelle. Actually, it's quite a few ghost stories. It's a haunted place, one of your favorite things.
Ooh, where?
Look at my notes. Shh. Where the fuck are my notes? Did I close them? Hold on. Pause, please, while I bring up my notes. Okay, so we are going to the state of Arizona, and this is, drumroll please, the most haunted hotel in Arizona.
Oh, interesting.
They're all the most haunted, Chelle. You know this.
Every article starts with the most haunted, fill in the blank.
That's right. And everybody is more than happy to promote that they are the most haunted, fill in the blank.
Right.
This particular hotel is about 2 hours north of Phoenix along historic Route 66.
Everything on Route 66 is haunted, duh.
Right? One of our places for our USA road trip, Chelle, we're going to do an entire Route 66 series for sure.
Does that come to Massachusetts?
Nope, it doesn't go into Massachusetts at all. It starts in Chicago, Illinois, and runs to Los Angeles, California. It doesn't hit the East Coast, which is too bad because Route 66 is haunted as hell, and so is the East Coast of the USA.
That's because the East Coast is the most haunted coast, just saying.
Well, the West Coast has probably the most serial killers, so there you go. Now, Idaho dickhead.
Yeah.
Which we're not saying the PA guy is the Idaho dickhead, but it's looking like the PA guy might be the Idaho dickhead.
He's kind of set himself up to kind of look like a dickhead. Just
That's
saying.
Right. Just saying. Innocent till proven guilty, but it's looking
But
like...
you put the dick costume on.
That's right. If you put the dick costume on, don't be surprised when people say you look like a dick.
It's like Cinderella. He's put the slipper on. We're just waiting to see if it fits.
That's right. We're just waiting. We're pretty sure it's fitting. And, again, we talked about this off while we weren't recording, but we were both kind of giving the police a little bit of a hard time. And it sounds like they were really building a very strong case against this person in the Idaho murders. And so good on you, dudes. We'll have to wait and see what comes out to make sure that that's actually how it is. But if it's as solid of a case as they're making it sound like, then good for them. Way to go.
I'm just putting out good vibes so that the families of those that were lost get some closure because they deserve it, damn it.
Mm-hmm. And if it is this guy, I hope his family also, I wish them strength and healing as well. But
if it is this guy, I hope his penis falls off.
Right. Yeah, whoever did it, yeah, their dick can fall off for sure.
Yes, like fall off in their sleep, wake up without it.
Yeah, terrible dick disease. May their balls itch for eternity and they not be able to find the reason why.
It just made me think of, I do not promote cursing, but if you ever want to curse someone, just curse them with an itchy asshole.
Ooh, that's a bad curse, Chelle. You are an evil bitch.
Well,
I like that.
Don't murder people, man.
That's right. Don't murder people. If you don't want Chelle to curse your asshole, don't murder people. That's all I'm saying.
Please do not email us asking me to curse people with an itchy asshole. Because I can only do that to people I know.
I know someone you did it to.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to know you on a certain level to give you that kind of curse.
This is why we have a not safe for work rating, by the way, in case you're offended. It was right there in the rating.
I don't take requests.
Chelle does not take asshole requests. Thank you. She needs to know you a little better first. Take her out for dinner, buy her a tarot deck, and then she'll consider it.
And then I'll give you the secrets to my itchy asshole curse.
But yeah, the key to Chelle's Book of Shadows is good food, good weed, and a tarot deck, and you're in.
Can I just say that I am amassing so many tarot decks at a rapid rate at the moment. Like I got 3 for Christmas. And I got another one that was ordered for me for Christmas that'll be in later this week.
I love it.
The one I'm getting later this week will make that'll make number 150 in my collection.
See, we knew you were close to 150. I didn't realize you were exactly at 150. That's fantastic.
This one that's been ordered that should arrive Thursday will be my 150th tarot deck. And it's to the point now where I have a Google Docs spreadsheet of all my tarot decks alphabetically listed so that my children and my sweet love, whenever they're looking to buy me a deck, they can refer to the list to make sure I don't already have it.
Very smart. Do you have a wish list of decks?
Oh, Jesus Lord, I have a paper list and an Amazon list. What you talking about?
I have an Etsy list.
That was the nice thing. I've kind of always stuck with Amazon and brick and mortar stores that I'm aware of, or order online from stores that I'm aware of.
Well, you fucking have Salem right at your damn fingertips. I think you have every single deck and limited run deck and everything like available to you.
I do.
Right there.
I do. But my daughter has turned to Etsy.
Etsy.
Those 2 decks we talked about right after our Yule Christmassy episode that I got from my daughter for the holidays. She got those on Etsy. I've gotten into a couple of exclusive Facebook groups for tarot, and Kickstarter has a wealth of gorgeous
Kickstarter
decks.
is a great place. When I started making my own personal deck, I was involved with some other artists who were using Kickstarter to promote their decks as well. And there's some beautiful things on there.
Yeah.
Some amazing artists out there for sure.
And I'm finding that the stuff on Etsy and Kickstarter, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, and I like things that are limited run.
Yes. Yes.
That not everybody and their brother has,
Right. Something a little different.
I like to find those niche things, and I just like to point out I'm still using the Rider-Waite deck.
Yes, despite your large and beautiful varied collection, you go with the basic Rider-Waite deck. I feel that happens. We all go back to the basics sometimes.
But in my defense, actually, in the last couple of months, that's the first time I've ever used the Rider-Waite tarot ever in life. Has been in the last couple of months. I've always shied away from it because I always felt it was so basic.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I guess for whatever reason, I'm feeling very basic right now. So yeah.
That's okay. Hey, there's something to it. I am very basic bitch in some things myself, so no shame in going back to the basics in tarot. You are inundated with all these different and varied things. There's something pure and simple and strong about going back to the basics and just really kind of vibing with that and just really getting into it.
Well, and also with what's happened in the last couple of years, I had kind of backed off from tarot for a couple of years, whether it was quarantine or, I was busy and I pulled away from tarot for a couple of years. So I think that going back to the Rider-Waite was a good way to, you try to reconnect with an old deck. And sometimes that deck's like, you know what, we had our time. It's been nice knowing you. But you know what? I've closed the door on you. And so I kind of felt that with my Witch's Tarot.
Yes.
And so I was like, fuck it, go back to basics. I never used it. And for some reason, all this stuff I was getting involved in, even if it wasn't tarot necessarily, but more witchy, that Rider-Waite deck kept popping up. Even if it was like talking to someone and they're using the Rider-Waite kind of thing. Like it just kept revolving back around to everything was starting to show up in various forms with the Rider-Waite deck. And I was like, fuck it, give it a go.
I think we're both, it's fun how we both kind of at the beginning of this podcast were like, hey, I've been reconnecting with my spirituality and with my tarot cards, and let's get back together and do things like this again. And now here again, we're both kind of ramping up this tarot thing. We've started with new decks, and the same thing happened with me with my old deck that I have used for a very, very long time. It
Did
was
you ditch it?
Didn't ditch it, but it did say, we're done here. Thank you.
We've had our time.
We've had our time. You need to move on. It's time to move on. Not to say that I won't still go back to it because it's like an old comforting pair of slippers or,
But it's that pair of slippers you can't wear every day anymore.
That's right. And I certainly can't wear them out. And
Right.
they don't want to be worn out. They're like, we're done. Thank you. Move on. And they kind of had to say that a few times, which is why I think I went into that time period where I didn't read because I wasn't listening to myself and where I needed to be. Maybe it was quarantine. I don't know, but I just wasn't ready for it then.
They were done and they cut the connection.
Yeah. And I needed some growth in different directions and I wasn't ready for it yet. And now I think I am. And it's fun because it sounds like we're kind of in the same place. I like that.
And that's the best part. We always kind of seem to end up in that same place.
It's nice to be able to bounce tarot things off someone. So if you have someone in your life or if you want to ask us questions about tarot, email us, thestonedwitcheshour@gmail.com. Find us on Instagram @thestonedwitcheshour. Tell us your questions. If you have a question about a specific card or how to connect with your cards or anything like how to pick a deck, we'd love to hear from you.
Or if you have some freaking fantabulous deck and you want to show us, we are deck whores.
Yes, please.
Send us pictures. I love tarot decks.
That. So today I am smoking out of the bowl I got in Canada. We rolled joints, right? We are such fucking stoners. We decided we're going to go travel. We're going to do some travel time in Canada, right? So we get everything all packed up and we figure out how long it's going to take us to get from where we're staying to the border. And we pack enough joints to get us there. So that way we can cross the border with 0 weed. And we had picked
We're
out...
7 joints away from the Canadian border.
I packed about a joint for every half hour is what I figured.
And
wow. It worked out to be about right. So that's not a lot, right?
No, I'm just I just can't get over in my head. I can just literally see the two of you plotting out the time. Okay, it's going to take us this amount of hours, and we're going to do this amount of joints for this hours. Right. Okay, so we're 7 joints away from Canada. Okay, we need to take a bathroom break. Okay, we're 4 joints away from Canada. And then
Were you in the car with us? Were you there?
I can imagine calling you. Where are you? Well, we're about 4 joints away from the Canadian border.
You know me. Oh, that's so sweet.
I can just see you measuring distance in terms of joints.
Yeah, we did. We totally
did.
I
love that.
Yeah, that's how we do. That's how we travel. I'm smoking joints right now out of my lovely little...
Oh, you're mystifying mince tin. I love it.
So we packed enough joints to get us to the border, and we picked a weed spot right across the border immediately.
So let me ask you this, and some of our listeners might want to know this because I'm dumb to the way of laws. We've all established that. So if it's legal to smoke in the state you're in, and it's legal to smoke in Canada, why is it illegal to drive across the border with that weed? Okay, let's say, for example, you're in New York State, because we know weed is now legal in New York. So let's say, for example, you're in New York, it's legal, and you cross over to Canada and it's legal. Why is it illegal to cross that bridge with it when this side of the bridge it's legal, that side of the bridge it's illegal? Why is the bridge making it illegal? I'm confused.
Crossing the bridge with weed makes it smuggling. It's basically a very illegal, very bad thing with consequences that far outweigh the offense in both countries. Just don't bring weed across the border, kids. Just don't do it. Canada has the Cannabis Act, which legalizes and regulates their cannabis trade. And it, quote, creates a strict legal framework for controlling the production, distribution, sale, and possession of cannabis. So they don't want you coming into Canada from the United States and bring weed that they haven't regulated. Don't do it.
Even though you're going from, like, say, for example, New York to Canada, like if I cross that Thousand Islands Bridge, why is it illegal to be on the bridge with weed, but I can be on either side of it with weed?
Coming from Canada back into the United States, weed is still illegal on the federal level, and the border guards are federal. So they also are not going to take too kindly to unregulated weed crossing the border.
So if those border agents were state agents, it'd be okay, but because they're federal agents, it's not okay? Is that the deal?
Disclaimer, Laylla is not a lawyer. Yes, that is the deal.
I don't understand laws. They're dumb.
And I'm pretty sure there's also possibly some sort of taxing involved as well, because
that I can see. That I can see, yeah.
coming back into the United States from Canada, the federal government, again, doesn't want you to bring what's federally illegal in. Plus, I'm
Right.
sure they also would want you to pay taxes if you did. So
They didn't get their money, so they're pissed.
that's most likely what it is. I mean, you fucking
Okay.
have to pay $5 just to cross the bridge.
Well, yeah.
They just want money. Oh, you're leaving? Give me $5. Oh, you're coming back in? Give me $5 more.
That's cheaper than the George Washington in New York City, man. That's $25 to cross. But yeah, like that confused me on why it's illegal to cross the bridge, even though it's legal on both sides. But I get the tax thing and all of that.
Yeah, weed here is schizophrenic. It's federally illegal everywhere. They really need to change
Let
that.
me ask you, is Canada weed any better?
It was good. It was just as good, I would say. It wasn't
Just
any
as
better.
good? So it wasn't any better or worse? You'd call it kind of an even?
I would say it's even. Prices were slightly cheaper.
Just because of the money exchange or what?
Yeah, just because of the money exchange. I would say that they're on par with Southern California and Massachusetts prices, although Southern California prices are coming down.
You just feel like you're paying less because of the money exchange.
Correct. Yeah, it's like $1.30.
Okay.
$1 American gets you $1.30 Canadian.
I gotcha. Okay.
So it's definitely cheaper. Although, note, if you do travel from the States to Canada and you decide to go pick up some of their greenest sticky icky, make sure you exchange your money first. If you use a credit card or anything like that, they will not do the conversion for you. So you will not save any money by paying American. They won't do it.
You want to convert your money first.
Convert your money first.
Pay with the Queen's face, people.
That's right. All right. So we keep getting distracted. I'm going to go back to Arizona.
That's what happens when you smoke weed.
That's right. I'm going to go back to Flagstaff, Arizona, which is, again, just a little ways away from Phoenix, Arizona, and right off of Route 66. In Flagstaff, there is a hotel called the Hotel Monte Vista.
I feel like I've heard of that before, as far as like news stories about ghosties.
Yes, because it is full from top to basement with ghosts. And it has had a lot of famous people stay there.
Any famous ghosts?
Well, not famous people ghosts, but ghosts that are famous because they've been seen so much.
I gotcha.
And famous people who have seen ghosts.
But like, there isn't like Jim Morrison hanging out in the hallways.
No, sadly, no. But Freddie Mercury stayed there, and so did John Bon Jovi.
Ooh, I love Bon Jovi. I actually love Freddie Mercury too.
Right? Oh, and Susie Sue from Susie and the Banshees.
Oh my God, love her.
Me too. Okay, so this is such a great hotel. I love this story.
We're having a hard time circling back and keeping on the point today. We must both have the best weed.
This joint, I'm pretty sure, is my Gorilla Glue, and whew, I don't know how much THC is in this shit. I really need to get a test kit, but man, I only rolled a little one. Get me high as fuck. So, this hotel was
I'm
built...
smoking the last of what the cat didn't dump.
Damn it.
Not that I'm bitter.
Only a little bitter. It's so fucking expensive. It's like dropping freaking gold over there.
Right.
So this hotel was actually built entirely from public taxes. And the reason was because Flagstaff back in the 1920s was realizing that tourism was booming in the area, but they were losing people because there was no place nice to stay in Flagstaff.
So is it owned by the town?
It was for a very long time until the 1980s when it was purchased by a private investor. It's actually the longest running publicly owned building of its kind.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, for real.
All I can think of is the guy from The Stand. Remember Stephen King's The Stand movie?
Yes.
And the weird guy was in Flagstaff, Arizona.
He was in Flagstaff. I wonder if he was in this hotel at all.
I don't know.
I'm going to have to look that fucking shit up. So anyway, so the Flagstaff people didn't want to lose out on those juicy tourism dollars. So they decided, right? So a man named V.M. Slifer,
Is he too cool to tell us his real name?
I guess so.
Probably Voldemort.
Voldemort Slifer. Back before Voldemort became evil, he invested in property in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Correct.
Yes. So, it's going to be Voldemort now. VM Slifer started a fundraising campaign in Flagstaff saying, we need to keep the tourists in Flagstaff. Let's build a beautiful hotel. And the city loved the idea. The public loved the idea. They voted for an ordinance that established a municipal bond to build the hotel. And people bought these bonds, including the novelist Zane Grey. Have you ever heard of Zane Grey?
I feel like I should, but it ain't coming to me.
So Zane Grey was like a Western novelist. He wrote like those penny Westerns, kind of adventure novels, basically.
I gotcha.
Western adventure novelist.
Like my grandpa used to read.
Exactly. He was quite famous for the time, and he was one of the biggest people to donate to these bonds. I believe he donated $200,000, which is a shit ton of money.
Back then was a lot of money. Yeah.
That's right. So the bonds were sold. Everything was great, and they broke ground for this hotel on June 8th, 1926. And the 4-story, 73-room hotel opened on New Year's Day in 1927.
Ooh, Happy New Year.
That's right. Happy New Year. It was originally named the Community Hotel to honor the fact that the whole community had come together to raise money to build this hotel. And it sounds like they had a contest to rename the hotel, and a 12-year-old was the one who came up with the new name Monte Vista, which means mountain view. And that was referring to the nearby San Francisco peaks that you can see.
Yeah, see, I've never been to Arizona, so I just picture just miles of flat land and all you see is flat.
Mostly it is. There's just a couple areas that have mountains, and this is a beautiful view from here, hence Monte Vista. So after the hotel opened, it was hugely popular, very beautiful hotel. Tourists were more than happy to stay there. It had a great bar, and even the locals loved it. It became a very popular meetup place. I guess even today, there's the phrase, meet me at the Monte V. And that's supposedly what people would say all the time, I guess. Meet me at the Monte V, Chelle. We're going to go have a drink.
See you soon.
Yeah, see you soon. Meet me at the Monte V. Also, another famous fact about this hotel is in the first year of its opening, it hosted a radio show in room 105 by a woman named Mary Costigan. And she is actually the very first female radio host in the United States.
Oh, God bless her.
Right? So she was kind of like...
Trailblazer.
Exactly, for what we're doing right here.
Trailblazer, yeah.
I don't think she covered ghosts and true crime, but, close enough.
She was on the airwaves, and we have made it to the airwaves.
We're the same. We are also on the airwaves. We're so much the same. So as you know, Prohibition happened. And during Prohibition, the Hotel Monte Vista did have a speakeasy. And you would go kind of down into this secret bar. And it was very, very popular. But in 1931, the speakeasy was raided and shut down.
Oh, shit.
2 years later, Prohibition ended in 33. So was not a big blow to the hotel at all. Also, for about 5 years, between 1935 and 1940, there were slot machines in the lobby, which, from what I've seen, they still have some there today. So there was actually gambling there as well. So the hotel kind of rose to prominence in the 40s and 50s because around that time was when America became fucking obsessed with spaghetti westerns. Everybody was doing westerns at that time. And they were all being filmed near Flagstaff, out in Sedona and Oak Creek Canyon. And so this hotel became like a popular place for stars to stay while they were filming. And so old time stars, like some of these I've never heard of, but some I have. Jane Russell, Gary Cooper, Spencer Tracy, John Wayne. Wow. John Wayne and Bing Crosby all stayed in this hotel.
Bing Crosby, man, he's like the Christmas singing god.
Right? Everybody knows Bing Crosby. We just got done with Bing Crosby Christmas.
Right?
Although my kids have kind of turned me on to Michael Bublé is the new Bing Crosby, I think. We always do the Bowman for Christmas music. But the hotel has also been featured in a couple movies, Casablanca, and also in Forrest Gump.
Oh, okay.
So many famous people have stayed at this hotel that the rooms themselves will have the room number, and then it'll be named for a famous person who slept there. Like the Bing Crosby suite is room 212.
Uh-huh.
Michael Stipe from REM, his room is 205.
Love him.
Michael J. Fox, 216. Susie Sue, 220. Bon Jovi, 305. Freddie Mercury, 403. Spencer Tracy, 404. Clark Gable stayed there, Humphrey Bogart, Anthony
Who's in
Hopkins.
room 420? Who's 420? Who's 420?
Honestly, I don't know. I know
Yeah.
Jean Tierney, who's like an old-timey star. She stayed in room 411. Interestingly, one of these famous people, John Wayne himself, actually saw one of the famous ghosts at the Hotel Monte Vista. Because not just famous people stayed there, this place is fucking haunted. There are ghosts on every single floor.
I wonder if John Wayne is still there.
Oh, I don't know. As far as I know, there have been no sightings of John Wayne, but he stayed in a couple different rooms. He stayed in room 210, which is one of the more haunted rooms. The second floor is reportedly haunted by a bellboy ghost, and people will see him either wandering the halls or very often guests will report a knock in the middle of the night at their door. When they ask who it is, he'll say room service. And if they say they didn't order anything, which a lot of people say, he's like, "Are you sure?"
What do you mean, am I sure? What the hell are you trying to bring me?
It creeps people right out. Usually when they open the door, there's no one there. There's no way someone could prank them because there's nowhere to hide in the hallway. It's a very narrow hallway that's just lined with doors. So if someone knocked at the door and said room service, they would need quite a bit of time in order to run away by the time you could open the door. So there's no way someone could do it and just hide.
I need to win like Mega Millions or something because I want you and I to go to every one of these locations. You and I need to be sleeping on that second floor and checking this shit out.
This is so scary, Chelle. You are absolutely right. We do need to stay there because this one man was staying in room 210 and got awakened at night by this bellboy. And apparently the gentleman staying across the hall from him was also awakened by this bellboy knocking and the gentleman in the room answering, to the point where he looked out his peephole to see what was going on. And he saw a young man in like a red velvet bellboy jacket with big brass buttons and black
like that
pants.
1920s, 1930s bellboy look.
Exactly, complete with the little hat and everything right outside the gentleman's door.
But did the guy at the door see the same guy or did he not see anything?
Here's what happened. The gentleman across stopped looking out the peephole, but then he heard the room across the hall, the door open, and the guy say, "What the fuck?" So he opened the door too, and there was no one else in the hall, just the two of them. And that's when he told the gentleman staying in the room 210 what he had seen.
Oh, shit.
But he had just looked through the peephole and seen the bellboy there, and only a few seconds had passed when he stopped looking and the guy opened the door and said, "What the fuck?" There's nowhere for that guy to have hidden. He was just gone.
We gotta go stay in those two rooms.
Oh, worse things have happened into room 210. According to hotel staff, they avoid putting people with pets into that room.
Why?
Pets freak out. They either get really sad and get very depressed and like tail tucked, whining, hiding in a corner, or they go so crazy they start ripping things up and they'll start destroying the room. So they won't let people with pets stay in that room.
So basically your pet either gets scared or confrontational.
Super anxious. John Wayne experienced that bellboy ghost when he stayed there, to the point where he asked the staff about it. He was awoken twice by the bellboy ghost. And he said that the ghost seemed friendly and that he didn't feel threatened by his presence. He was more kind of excited that he had seen a ghost. But he reported the bellboy to hotel staff.
Oh, wow. John Wayne's not dead. He's frozen.
He's just frozen. So there's also a story about in the 1970s, 3 men robbed a bank in Flagstaff. And after they robbed the bank, apparently they decided to stop at the Monte Vista and have a few drinks in the bar.
Good idea.
Right? I hate to say it, but back then there were no cameras. There was no DNA evidence. Unless someone saw your face and was like, "Oh yeah, Jim Bob did that," they weren't going to know. But one of the gentlemen who'd robbed the bank had gotten shot by a security guard in the course of getting away. So they stopped at the Hotel Monte Vista to have celebratory drinks at the bar.
Because, God forbid you get that bleeding tended to.
Right? So the one who'd gotten shot is like, "Oh, it's just a scratch. Give me another scotch." And bleeds out at the bar and dies.
Let me guess. He's still at that bar.
Very much so. And apparently he's a very nice gentleman. He will often say good morning to the staff when they come in. People will unblock the door, come in, start setting up at the bar. They'll be the only one there, and they'll hear a very cheerful "good morning" from a gentleman at the other end of the bar.
Damn.
Bar stools will also move on their own. They'll take them off the tables, take them off the bar, put them on the floor, go to get supplies, come back in, and they'll be in different positions. Drinks will regularly slide down the bar on their own or get violently thrown off the bar.
Oh, I love that. I want to see that.
Multiple patrons report that they'll be drinking their drink, set it down, and when they reach for it and pick it up again, it's an entirely different drink.
Oh shit. What did the guy drink? Do they know what he drank? Does it turn into like basically what he would drink?
Oh, I love that idea. I don't know. We'll have to call and ask. We'll find out when we go there. Bar area is super haunted, and people report sometimes seeing this gentleman. And again, very often, particularly in the morning, they'll hear him say good morning. What drew me to this hotel was a video that I had found. I'm trying to find the original video. Apparently, a family, mother, father, and like 3 young children went and stayed in room 305, which is the Bon Jovi room, by the way. And the reason they stayed in the Bon Jovi room is because nobody's sure exactly when, but sometime between the 20s and the 60s, an older woman had stayed in the hotel as a long-term resident, and she stayed in room 305. She was reported to always be sitting in a rocking chair facing out the window whenever anybody would see her. That's pretty much where she stayed until she died. And she did die in the rocking chair in that room. Recently, one of the managers has uncovered evidence where she feels that the woman was waiting for her son to come back from the war. And when she stopped hearing from him, that's when she started just sitting in that chair staring out the window.
Which unfortunately was kind of, I don't want to say traditional, but kind of traditional for that period.
Right. And now it is extremely common for people to see that chair rocking and hear humming coming from it. Some people will even see the woman herself sitting in the chair when it starts rocking. Almost everyone who stays in that room sees that chair move or rock on its own. Hotel staff and guests report that if you move the rocking chair away from the window and you leave the room, when you come back, it'll be back facing the window. The video that I saw that got me here was from a young family, and they were staying in room 305 specifically to try and get in touch with that old woman. And they had a Ouija board.
My kind of people. Yes.
Right? The young son said, if anyone is here, make the rocking chair move. And nothing happened, and the dad kind of asked him to repeat it again, and he did. And then the rocking chair literally turned to face them on its own and started rocking.
Oh my God.
They start screaming on video, and leave the room and run away. And the hotel manager says they checked out in the middle of the night. They refused to stay.
That's a fuck around and find out moment. If you're going to fuck around, why you got to check out? You ask, stay there for the long haul.
Here, move the rocking chair.
Nothing's moving.
Mm-hmm. They all felt it, and they were, they did check out in the middle of the night.
Well, if you're here, move the rocking chair. Hold on.
I think the dad is more scared than anybody.
Right?
That's nuts. That is nuts.
So that's from the Travel Channel, Jack Osborne. What's his show? Portals to Hell, I think, from the Travel Channel. So I saw that video from that family, and I could not find the original video. I've been looking and looking and looking, but the only place I can find that clip is from the Travel Channel. But apparently that's what had got Jack and Katrina to go to the Monte Vista to investigate this.
That makes me want to go and investigate it.
I want to go and investigate it too. Plus, it's the John Bon Jovi room. Why wouldn't you want to stay there? But the humming, the elderly lady that's there is very, very common. And I looked at that video a couple times, and if they did some type of wire to move that chair, I don't see it in the video. And the reactions of the family seems pretty genuine. And the hotel
dad was scared.
They were scared. They were screaming and running out of the room. It wasn't like they just started laughing and haha, isn't that scary? They legit ran out of the room and checked out, according to the hotel manager.
I want to go.
I want to go too. That's pretty scary.
John Bon Jovi, send me to your room.
Right? That's not it, Chelle. It does not stop there. There are so many more experiences. Another one is room 220, which is Susie's room.
Right down the hall, apparently, right?
Different floor. 220 is the one we were just on was the third floor, room 305.
Oh, okay, okay.
But room 220 is right across from, or is right near room 210, which is the one that
With
the
the ghost
bellboy
and the
comes to.
bellboy.
Yeah. So room 220 is also haunted. And in the 1980s, a long-term resident stayed there that was very eccentric. He was known for hanging strips of raw meat from his chandelier. The smell coming from this room was so bad that when
That's a
this,
little more than eccentric, by the way.
right, that's just downright creepy.
Unless he's totally into homemade beef jerky.
Apparently, he was very into chandelier beef jerky. I don't know. But the smell coming from this room was so bad that this gentleman died. He was dead for 3 days before anyone noticed
Oh shit.
because the stench from his dead body just kind of matched.
Blended in.
Yeah. So after he passed away, a maintenance worker went in to clean the room and to prepare it for another renter. And he had the room mostly finished and needed to go get some more supplies. So he locked the room, went down the hall, got some supplies, and came back. Was gone for just a few minutes. When he came in, all the lights were turned back on. The bed linens were stripped off the bed and in a pile at the foot of the bed, and the television was on and broadcasting at full volume. And he had only been gone for a matter of minutes. When guests stay there now, they will regularly hear someone coughing in the room.
He's choking on the beef jerky.
Apparently. And the TV also seems to have a life of its own. It will turn on or turn off, and the volume will go up or down.
So he's basically just living in his room still.
He's still staying in his room and trying to control the television. He also doesn't like people being there, and people will often report feeling touched by cold hands, particularly on their back, like they're being pushed by someone with cold hands.
Well, that's probably a case of he doesn't realize he's dead and feels like some bitches are invading his apartment. What is with the long-term usage? A lot of places do that. It seems like whenever you have a long-term tenant, that's when you start getting ghosties.
I think so. Plus, the hotel also changed hands in the 1980s. It went from being a publicly held hotel to being a private owner. And some people nowadays have kind of described it a little negatively and said that it's more like a bar that just happens to have a hotel on top of it.
Oh, gotcha.
Another interesting fact is that it was one of the first self-service Otis elevators in the state of Arizona. The elevator has been modernized since its beginning. It did originally have attendants in the shaft, and people do say that there is still an attendant ghost at this elevator. People will often hear when they get in the elevator, even if they're alone, they hear a voice asking, "Which floor?" People report seeing a hand cross in front of the doors after they've gotten in, as if
like the old people, like they used to do back. Ah, that's so cool.
Yep, as if the ghost is still shutting the gate from the old time elevator. And if you walk out of this elevator and there's a mirror across from you, people report seeing the old man standing in the elevator behind them in the mirror, even if the elevator's empty.
I wanna go. Damn it.
Room 306 is the Gary Cooper room. And that room has one of the saddest stories because 2 sex workers were killed there.
Oh.
And then they were defenestrated, which I'm not sure if they were killed in the room or if by being thrown out the window is what killed them.
Oh.
Yeah. Just a few blocks down the road, there used to be a very thriving community of sex workers, red light district, if you will. And so this tragedy occurred in that room. I don't know what year, but it is a well-known fact that 2 women were killed there and thrown out the window. And people will report a heavy feeling of being watched. And very often people will be awoken suddenly in the middle of the night and just have this chilling, cold feeling of being watched. And men who stay in that room, all of them report feeling as if someone is sitting on top of them with their hands over their mouth or on their throat.
Oh.
The majority of the time, the staff says male guests will wake up feeling unable to breathe or being short of breath.
It's funny that it's not the females that feel that way.
A lot of people think that it is the women who were killed trying to exact revenge.
I gotcha.
And these might also be the same 2 women in elaborate dress that are often seen walking through the lounge or the pool hall, and they're quite transparent and disappear if you pay too much attention to them.
Sounds like me.
Yeah, maybe they're just introvert ghosts now, that's all.
Nothing wrong with it.
Right? So poltergeist activity abounds in the entire hotel. People report their beds being stripped, TVs coming on and off, light bulbs particularly if the staff says if they put in a new light bulb, they usually have to do it twice because they'll put in the light bulb, they'll come back, it'll be unscrewed and sitting on a table nearby.
I'd just be annoyed at that shit.
Pretty much. They're so used to it that it's just kind of a common thing to them. Things just happen. Furniture moves around. They also say there's usually a phantom sausage-like smell throughout the hotel. And if you try to follow it to its source, you end up at room 220, the meat on the chandelier guy's room.
Yeah.
There's a couple unexplained ghosts. There's a little boy that mostly children will see in the lobby and on some of the different floors. And women very often will feel a small child's hand go in theirs as they're going up the elevator.
Like they're putting their hand in their mother's hand kind of thing.
Exactly. But nobody knows where this little boy has come from. One of the more creepy things that's unexplained is in the basement, which is usually only where staff goes. There have been numerous reports of staff hearing a baby crying, just wailing. And then it'll slowly morph into a man's evil laughter, like a deep male laughter.
Okay, I don't like that. I don't like this whole ghosty morphy shit because that just means that there's a manipulative ghost out there with not so great intentions.
Yeah, what is that? That's really fucking creepy. And I have to wonder if it's related at all to some of the tunnels that are underneath the city.
Ooh, there's tunnels?
There are. There was a lot of immigrants that built the area and that built tunnels to kind of help facilitate things. And I believe that there were some fires that happened in the 20s, I think, and it was blamed on these immigrants. And so a lot of them kind of resorted to using these tunnels to stay in and to kind of get around town, just to kind of get away from a lot of the attacks that they were getting. So I wonder. These tunnels are rumored to have been rife with crime, that there was also, that there were drug trade and smuggling and things that happened in these tunnels. Some of these tunnels did come up in this Hotel Monte Vista. And so I wonder if some of these ghosts might be related to things that may have happened in the tunnels in the nearby area. But I think
maybe in a future episode, we should explore those tunnels.
That's definitely on the list for sure. For sure. There's also a couple, a very well-dressed couple, a man in a tuxedo and a woman in a beautiful ball gown that are dancing in the cocktail lounge. They look very happy. They're laughing, they're smiling, and people will see them dancing and just having a good time before they disappear. But I have another story for you. This one really, really freaked me out. So a man staying at the hotel was looking for ghosts, right? So he's wandering around the hotel and he saw a room door open. And so he stopped thinking a person was going to come out, but instead a shadow came out of the room.
Oh, no shit.
So he immediately trained, he's recording looking for ghosts. So he immediately trained his recording on that door. The video looks like he follows something down the hallway before he stops recording. Or at least that's what he says. Because if you look at the video, it's blank. There's nothing on it. He insists that there was a black shadow vaguely in the shape of a person that came out of the room and walked down the hallway, but nothing showed up on the video.
That's not surprising, though.
Except if you turn up the volume, it sounds like a man right up against the microphone screaming help the entire time.
Oh, no shit.
No shit. He insists that there was a shadow there and he didn't hear a thing while he was taking the video. But if you watch the video, no shadow, but you can hear someone screaming help.
Oh my God. That's fucked up.
I got another super, super creepy one. This one totally gave me chills. Now, a lot of people recently, if you read the reviews for this place, it goes back and forth. People love it for the hauntings, for the fact that so many famous people stayed here, and it seems to be very active. If you go there looking for a ghost, you're going to experience something. However, the bars seem to be very, very popular, and the hotel is kind of getting run down and a little bit old. So don't go there expecting luxury accommodations, and definitely expect to hear the bar just rocking until about 2 a.m. So I read this blog of someone who stayed there, a woman named Gemini, in January 8th, 2014. And the first part of her blog was basically complaining about how shitty the rooms were, how loud the bar was, and how she could hear everything on the street outside.
Really, it's built in the 1920s. There was no insulation. What the fuck do you expect?
Yeah, it sounds like management might not exactly be the greatest at the moment either, or maybe they don't care about the hotel part. So the rest of the blog is where she now says she kind of believes in ghosts. So she says they returned from dinner about 7 o'clock, and that as soon as she walked into the room, she immediately felt fatigued. She says the level of fatigue that can only be described as suffocating.
Ugh.
She went from being fine, just had dinner, in a great mood, to crossed the threshold of the room and was immediately crushingly tired, suffocatingly fatigued. She said it was the type of tired where she had no control over her eyelids or her limbs. And so she decided to lay down on the bed and cover herself up with a blanket. And she said she mumbled to her husband, was literally falling asleep as she talked to him, was like, I can't stay awake. I just need a little nap. She says she fell asleep, and the next thing was that she felt kind of cold, some cold air around her. So she snuggled in further under the blankets and kind of pulled up into a fetal position. And that's when she felt her husband kind of playfully roll her over and lay down on top of her and was jokingly like, hey, the kids aren't here. We've got the place to ourselves.
Was it really her husband?
Hold on. Don't get it, Chelle. Don't spoil it. And he's like, hey, we should, take advantage of this opportunity being alone. And she sleepily agreed. And he said he was going to take a quick shower. So while he leaves and takes a shower, she gets up and walks over to the window to kind of look out at the view of Flagstaff. She says she didn't see Flagstaff, but it was the weirdest thing. All she could see was just snow as far as she could see. It was just a blizzard whiteout everywhere outside the window. And she could see a small fire as if someone was just outside the hotel. And she could see a man in a parka kind of warming his hands. And she's kind of yelling to this guy, come in, it's freezing out there, come in, and trying to tell him to come in. And he starts walking towards her and then gets faster and faster until he's running towards her. And as he gets closer, she's able to see his face, and she starts screaming because his face, she says, was full of rage and evil. And he had a light beard, looked like he was in his early 40s or 50s, and he had red eyes that just were like screaming rage and anger at her. And she knew right then that she'd better not let him in the room ever. And she put her arms out and shouted, you must not enter this place. You cannot enter this place. And she doesn't remember how many times she repeated it, but just as he reached her window and his breath appeared on the window in front of her, she said the snow disappeared, the cold disappeared, and she saw the streets of Flagstaff in front of her.
Oh, shit.
She says she kind of went back to bed and curled up under the blanket and was trying to figure out what just happened, if she had been sleeping or sleepwalking or what the fuck. And she started dozing off. And every time she closed her eyes and dozed off, she could see that man's face. And she would scream. She'd put her hands in front of her and scream, you must not enter this place. You must go away now, every time. After a few times of this, she felt really sluggish. She was sleepy, but she didn't want to go to sleep. She wanted to open her eyes, but she couldn't. And she felt her husband sit down next to her on the bed, but she felt as if she couldn't speak. When you're trying to wake up and you everything feels super heavy and you can't really form words. She whispered to him, did you take a shower? She's waking up fully now, and he's looking at her all confused. And he says, I've been sitting at the desk the whole time with my iPad. I'm going to take a shower in a little bit. Why? And that's when she realized he had never sat on the bed with her. She must have been asleep, but she says it felt like it was very real.
Oh, wow.
The area where she was ice cold, and the rest of the room was warm. And she says she's not normally someone who has nightmares, and she doesn't usually remember her dreams, other than apparently a childhood nightmare that was very traumatic. But this one particular time, she had this super vivid dream. And when I first read that and I read her do the warding, I got chills. So she apparently had some sort of weird ghost.
That's fucked up.
Right? Weird ghost experience thing. So that's the Hotel Monte Vista. Lots of ghosts, lots of famous people, and a few confusing mysteries.
Yeah, it makes me want to go there. You know how I am. The weirder and more fucked up it is, the more
you want to go. Yes. Right? Oh, yeah. It's on our list. We have to stay there because every floor, so many ghosts. And I want to stay in Susie's room. I want to stay in
John Bon Jovi's room. What are you talking about?
I want to stay in Freddie Mercury's room. I mean, come on. So cool.
I don't even care if it's run down. I have stayed, unless you've stayed in a budget inn in Lower Manhattan, you realize that you have no. Who
cares?
Yeah. A roof. I just want a roof.
We'll go. Weed's legal there. We will go rock out at the bar until 2 a.m., smoke our faces off, drink with the locals, dance
and then go
with
ask the meat guy what his deal is.
And then, we'll go up to our room and use the Ouija board all fucking night and see ghosts.
I want to talk to the chandelier meat guy because I want to know what the deal is with that. Is this human meat? What type of beef jerky you making here?
Ew, of course you go right to human meat, Chelle. I thought I was the true crime person. That's just creepy.
It is, but I am a fan of beef. I am a fan of beef jerky. So I have a couple of interesting things. This is, and it might have been the Idaho story that kind of sparked this. But I was looking into different psychics and mediums that assist in solving crimes because as we know, there are legitimate and there are, we'll call them attention seekers, newbies.
Like the attention seeker in this Idaho case, who, after Bryan K was arrested, this tarot reader, TikTok person who accused the professor went ahead and said that the professor hired him as a hitman.
Lord.
So attention seeking doesn't even begin to cover it.
But I will say, and we know that there's varying levels of experience in tarot readers and psychics and mediums.
Sure.
They go from newbie all the way to more experienced than us
Absolutely.
combined. So going back to the fact that he was a teacher's assistant, I could see how a newbie could get that as a professor because
I see what you're saying.
Do you see what I'm saying? I think, I'm not saying that this person is doing the right thing because I feel at this point that she is not. This tarot reader is not doing the right thing. But I do think that maybe there was something in the cards that were a little bit misinterpreted.
Maybe. I think that's being pretty generous, but I see where you're going with it.
But do you see where I'm going with it?
Yeah.
Because of him being an assistant professor, she's saying it's a professor. So I can see the tie-in.
Yeah.
But I have actually
It's very irresponsible to name a person like that, though.
Very irresponsible. And we do not condone that in any way, shape, or form.
If she had just said, hey, I see some type of connection to a professor.
Right. Or someone in a teaching capacity.
Right. She'd be looking like a hero right now instead of, going to
a zero.
Have her pantsuit off.
Yeah. I mean, she could have looked like the hero. Instead, she looks like the zero. But here's a couple of cases that are 100% legit and where it involved either a psychic, a medium, or a tarot reader. Because
I can't wait. Do tell.
Because here's the thing, and I don't think people, we live in a crazy world. We always have. And while law enforcement agencies don't like to say this publicly, the truth is that they often consult with mediums to help solve crimes or uncover new leads.
Oh, yeah. You and I have both not only heard of it, we know some people who've been involved in that.
Correct. Especially if like a case has gone cold or they have nowhere else to turn, no leads, cold cases that maybe have been, unsolved for a while, they will seek guidance from spiritualist people. Murder cases are especially important to police and investigators because they want to bring peace to the family and they also want to get the killer off the streets. You can find there's hundreds of stories of psychic mediums or tarot readers helping law enforcement, but I didn't want to get anything too far back, so I did dig up a few stories from the 2000s, from 2000 and beyond.
Cool.
So these are technically old. I mean, granted, it's 2023 now. Holy crap!
Right?
Episode 50, but still, I mean, the 2000s is more relevant than, say, the 1950s. So there was a man, Dennis McKenzie, in 2002, two 10-year-old girls, Holly Wells and Jessica Chapman, never made it home from a barbecue. These girls were in England. And I know that not all of these stories I'm going to talk about at the moment are United States based, but I want to talk about these psychic medium tarot people who help solve crimes. So their bodies were never discovered for another 2 weeks. So in this 2-week time period, no one had any answers. Police had no answers. Family had no answers. The family actually reached out to psychic Dennis McKenzie, not the police in this particular case, but the family, which honestly, if I was in that situation, I trust and believe in law enforcement, but my ass would be calling a psychic first.
Oh, yeah. I think family is going to be looking for anyone with any type of answers they can get.
And actually, McKenzie proved to be a vital tool in cracking the case. He was able to describe that there was a man and woman involved in the crime.
Oh, wow.
And without getting into a lot of details, the article didn't go into exact details, but he was able to describe a man and woman that were involved in the crime. And it did lead police officers to arrest and charge a man with a female accomplice.
Damn.
And
And that's not typical. Usually women are involved in that type of thing unless it's their own children, usually.
right.
To be able to see that from a psychic perspective, it's not like he just randomly pulled that out because that's an unusual situation.
Right. And then there was another psychic medium, Debbie Malone. Back in 2003, the body of a 27-year-old named Maria Scott was found after she was murdered. The circumstances surrounding her death were unknown for roughly about 4 years.
Oh, wow,
No,
that's terrible.
so that's 4 years with no closure for the family. No new clues, no leads to investigate. The law enforcement in this particular case reached out to the medium, Debbie Malone, who actually led investigators to the location of the murder.
Oh, no shit.
Yep. And because of that, they were able, and 4 or so years had passed, they were still able to locate a murder weapon.
Oh, so this location had been previously unknown.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
What investigators hadn't told Debbie was that the murderer had committed suicide sometime after committing the crime. So they didn't tell her that. So they did know that the murderer committed suicide, but they didn't know any other details, and they never told her that.
Wow.
Debbie actually reported feeling that the murderer passed through her body, the way that only dead people do. And that's how she was able to discern that he was no longer living.
Oh, wow.
And when she told
Damn.
investigators that, they knew. And they were like, yeah, we knew that. We just didn't want to tell you that.
So they were like kind of testing her, but because the killer, the energy of the killer moved through her
Correct.
like a spirit did, she knew.
Correct.
Damn.
Correct. So she was able to kind of not necessarily close the case per se, because obviously the murderer was dead, but she was able to lead them to the murder weapon in the location of the crime, which after 4 years and no murder weapon, that was a pretty big break in the case.
Damn. Yeah, of course.
There was another case. There was a psychic named Rosemary Kerr. So there was a person that went missing, 1987, Andre Daigle. Her sister reached out to this medium, Rosemary Kerr, for help. And unfortunately, Kerr confirmed that her brother was indeed dead, having been murdered by two men who reportedly killed him just to see if they could.
Oh, shit. That's fucking shitty.
So Rosemary Kerr was able to tell police where to look to find the body, and where she told them to look, they found the body. She was right.
Right on the fucking money. Damn.
Actually, this one, I like this one a lot more, because this is where even the judicial system acknowledges her.
Really?
Prosecutors actually called Kerr as a witness during the proceedings, and this made it the first time a medium has been used as a witness in a murder trial. She testified that the moment she had touched a photo of Andre, the missing person, she knew that he was dead. And her testimony actually was it wasn't the sole thing, but her testimony participated in these two men ultimately being found guilty of murder.
Damn. Wow. Score one for psychics.
I liked that one particularly because that was the first time that they had actually used a medium as a witness.
So it's in the court record.
Correct. There was another case involving a psychic medium, Christy Robinette. She was awoken by a spirit of a young woman who told her that she had been murdered. So she didn't even want to get involved in the beginning. She just
The spirit came to her. She was so open. This spirit was like, oh, that person will listen. I'm going to go talk to them.
Right. So this Christy lady's just snoozing away, minding her own business. And this young woman came to her, told her she was murdered, and she needed someone to help law enforcement find her body.
Wow.
The woman turned out to be 20-year-old Ashley Howley, who disappeared in Ohio in 2004.
No shit.
Yep. So Christy Robinette reached out to police about her vision. When she was able to describe the clothes that Howley was last seen wearing, police put her in contact with the victim's family. Robinette was able to lead them to the location of Howley's body, but because the location was on private property, they were unable to dig up the spot and search for remains. However, in 2008, Howley's suspected killer was arrested and charged with two other murders, and he ultimately confessed. In his confession, he described the spot where he had buried Howley, and it is the same exact spot that Robinette had previously led the family to.
No fucking way. No fucking way. Totally confirmed.
Yep, now that he had confessed to the murders, then law enforcement was able to get a warrant, go on the private property, dig up the remains, and there they are.
Right,
But
because probably rightfully so. You can't just take a psychic's word for it that there's a dead
hey,
body
I'm gonna go
buried
dig
there.
up your shit.
Right.
Fuck no, you're not. But yeah, once he made the confession, then the police were able to get that warrant and then go and dig it up, and that is exactly where they found her remains. And then finally, this one last one I want to touch on, psychic medium Nancy Weber. In 1982, Elizabeth Cornish was murdered in her New Jersey apartment, and the police suspected her boyfriend committed the crime. But when they reached out, the police reached out to this medium, Nancy Weber, asking for her help. She revealed that Cornish's killer was actually the man who lived above her.
Oh, wow. Damn.
And she was able to provide a detailed description of what he looked like.
No
Yeah.
shit. The significant other is always, and rightfully so, like the first one they look at. Can you
But it's not always the
imagine?
one.
No, it's not. Can you imagine the shit feeling of being like, the love of my life just got murdered,
But I didn't do it.
and I'm the prime
But I
suspect?
didn't do it.
Ah,
But check this out. At first, the alleged killer was able to provide an alibi for his whereabouts during the time when Cornish was said to have been killed.
but
Webster insisted that the coroner had gotten the time of death wrong. And
ooh,
so, guess
turn of
what?
events, twist.
Turn of events. So somehow Nancy Weber was able to convince the coroner to re-examine the body.
Okay,
And-
hold on. That part I have a hard time believing. Maybe it was a small town or something, or maybe
don't
she
know.
was well known. I don't know.
I don't know.
But she got the
But-
coroner to re-examine. She was so sure they re-examined.
Sure as shit, motherfucker changed the time of death to 4 hours earlier.
No fucking way.
And then the alleged killer's alibi no longer covered him for the time frame. And then, check it, he eventually confessed to law enforcement that he actually was the killer.
Oh fuck. No
Because
way.
He felt that this Nancy Weber wasn't going to relent and that basically he had no way out. So finally he was just like, yep, did it.
And he would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for that meddling tarot reader.
Right. Oh my God, Scooby-Doo.
Right? Holy shit.
So I guess kind of the point I wanted to prove with those couple of little tidbits today is that I think that the tarot reader that is trying to insert herself in the Idaho killings is definitely performing a grave disservice to the families, a grave disservice to tarot reading in general, and a grave disservice to her own karma. But I do believe that there are tarot readers and psychics and mediums out there that I do believe do have the ability to assist in such cases. I just think that this particular gal trying to insert herself in the Idaho cases is misled, misdirected, maybe misinterpreting the cards to a little bit, maybe a little newer, and maybe a little bit of attention seeking. But I do want to put it out there to people that you're hearing about this tarot reader in the Idaho case because it's a big popular thing right now. And I don't want people out there to think that I don't want her to make the impression for all tarot readers and all psychics and all mediums that they're all full of shit and can't help, because there are those that can help. And this is just kind of a Miss Cleo situation.
I am 100% with you. And I think that in several of the instances that you just described, at least in two of them, the spirit, the energy came to that person. They didn't seek it out.
Right.
And I just think that situations like that are few and far between. They do happen, and sometimes they happen to people who aren't even professional psychics or tarot readers. It just happens sometimes, but it's rare. And so I just don't think tarot, I mean, of course you can use it for insights and things like that, but I think it's much better tool to be used for personal growth and for, helping
Not for crime solving.
Right, not necessarily for crime solving. Does it happen? Sure. Obviously, your stories proved that there are people that have that talent, and that sometimes there are situations you could stumble into that have ghosts involved or will have something like that. But that's just not the norm, and that's just not where, I don't know. That's just not personally where I think it should go.
Again, I just wanted to kind of put it out there because it has been in the news a lot lately that just like with any group, there are the people that are a little cray-cray, and the actions of the one don't reflect the actions of the many. And just because this one might be a little loosey-goosey doesn't mean everybody is.
I love your stories. How fun, though. And even better, I love that they helped bring closure and relief to the families of these victims.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's kind of, isn't that how we should all use our powers for
Right?
good?
We should all try to use it for good. Absolutely.
The more good you do, the more weed you can smoke.
Yay! And I just finished both my joints. I'm packing another bowl. I did bring my bowl back from Canada. See my cute little
Beautiful,
bowl?
beautiful.
My little $10 bowl.
I like the little honeycomb on it.
Isn't that cute? What's with all the honey lately? There seems to be a honey motif. The bowl I just got in California has the bee and the honey on it. This Canada bowl has the honey.
I think society is subliminally trying to get us to save the bees.
Well, they should.
So it's like a thing. They're trying to subliminally help us save the bee population.
I'm down with that. Let's save the bee population. Plant more weed outdoors, folks. Get us that good outdoor grown.
Do it, I dare ya.
Can't wait for spring, man. I hope that with all my traveling, I really hope that, I have my garden going, my indoor garden, and depending on where I end up this spring, I really hope that I'm in a spot where I can plant outdoors for a little bit. I would love to have some outdoor sun-grown weed in my, gosh, what do you call a weed library? Like in my canning jars, in my
weed
pantry,
catalog? I don't know.
my weed closet. Ooh, I need a weed closet in my weed library. So yeah, I need some sun grown.
I just want the weed. I don't give a shit where it came from, who grew it, how it was grown. I just want to smoke that shit, man.
Smoke it. Well, I'm definitely gonna smoke some more. I've got a lot of this mystery New Year's Eve weed. Now, Chelle, I know you don't do resolutions. You're not a New Year's resolution kind of gal. We talked about this last year when we first started this podcast. Is there anything you're looking forward to for 2023? Like, I know we're both kind of keeping our head down and hoping that the year doesn't notice us. We want to kind of skate through, but
I actually do have a New Year's resolution.
holy shit. What's your New Year's resolution?
I want to go back to reading tarot semi-professionally.
Ooh, go for it, Chelle. Yeah.
Like we did back in the day,
Back in the day. Yeah. Now, I haven't really made a New Year's resolution, but I do want this year to be the year of kind of like getting my feet under me and definitely getting way more in touch with my witchy side, trying to find local pagans and do more tarot, do more spells, do more full moons. And hopefully this year we will do a lot of that in our podcast and with our Wheel of the Year. I think we're going to be exploring more full moons, more spells, more rituals, and kind of getting into the nitty gritty of actual witchcraft practice.
We're going to hop on the broom and we're going to see what witchy, ghosty, paranormally cryptid, true crime shit we can find flying around.
All while smoking the absolute finest electric lettuce.
Electric lettuce?
I don't know.
What the hell is electric lettuce?
There's not enough good nicknames for weed, man. It's just like, it's weed, it's chiba, it's like...
Chiba? I've never heard of that.
Haven't heard chiba?
No, I like the devil's lettuce.
Devil's lettuce?
It makes me feel naughty.
All right. So we will continue smoking the devil's lettuce and bringing you a podcast every week on the best ghost, paranormal, true crime, witchy, weedy things we can find.
They're just crazy. Our crazy bullshit. We're just going to bring you our craziness. That's what we're bringing you in 2023. We're bringing you us.
We're just going to stay on our high bullshit for the entire year. Sounds good to me, Chelle.
I think that we've got a good year in store. And to all of our listeners, Happy New Year. Stick with us. We're enjoying this ride.
Yeah, stay here. We will see you next week on Wednesday at 4:20 a.m. for episode 51 of The Stoned Witches Hour.
Oh my God, before we stop and before we say goodbye to people, I just want to put out there, 2 days after this episode airs is our 1 year anniversary of our first frickin' podcast going live. Our first podcast. Our first podcast, episodes 0, 1, and 2, all went live on January 6th of 2021. And 2 days after this episode goes live will be January 6th, 2022. So we are...
2023.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I can't even remember. There's so much toilet paper in my head. I don't even know what year it is anymore.
So this is technically the last episode of our year of podcasting, is what you're saying.
It is. And even though it's only episode 50, I'd like to remind folks we have a lot of other episodes, our book of stories, our
Wheel of the
Sabbath
Year.
rituals. Yep, our Wheel of the Year ones. So yeah, it's been a year, man.
That's so amazing. And thank you all so fucking much for being on this ride with us, for smoking along with us, for sending in your stories, your questions, just telling us that you like us. We still fangirl. We still get a little crazy. We still laugh whenever we see your stuff come in. So please, if you want to see two high witches get really, really happy, send us a shout out. Comment, like us, subscribe, give us stars.
Tell us your crazy stories,
Tell us
even.
your crazy weed stories. We want to hear them all. Thank you guys all over the world. We love you so much. And thank you for being on this high ride with us.
Happy New Year and happy anniversary.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy anniversary. Stay high. Stay happy.